Hey guys, welcome to Mara's Junk Drawer. I am Mara, and today I'm going to be going over all of the books that I read in the month of February. Here they are. And if you see me looking every which way, it's because I have Storygraph right here, and I also have my book thoughts typed out on my computer. So, yes. I feel like it has such a great reading month for the month of February. It was such a great reading month for me. Such a great reading month. So let's get into it. Okay, so first, should we start with this one first? These are in no particular order, but okay, so this is Adam and Eva by Sandra Kitt. She is like a 90s, is she a 90s romance author? Let me see. Actually, this book was published in 1985, so I guess we could say 90s, but this was published 1985. So we are following Adam and Eva clearly. So what I said is we are following Adam, a marine biologist, and Eva, she works at a law firm. Eva has decided to take a 6-week vacation to St. John. Her first plane ride, she meets a 10-year-old girl by the name of Diane. They form a quick liking to each other. Diane is traveling alone to be with her father, Adam Maxwell, for the summer. Adam is very much Mr. Grumpy, very closed off, and lacks patience. He's a divorcee of Diane's mother, the failed marriage that has formed negative feelings towards him, being in love overall. He decided to flee the States and drown himself in his work. He sees his daughter during his allotted time and engage in occasional flings. So he's very much like a hard ass. Like, if I were to meet this man, like, Eva has so much patience with him because he was very much far beyond the Mr. Grumpy that I like. He was very giving much like emotionally unavailable. Eva is a widow who is grieving a loss as well, just not exactly the same way as Adam. She is grieving. I'm about to say, what is that noise? It is raining. She is a grieving wife and mother who also drowns herself in work. Eva is very much a lover girl who only had the experience of being with her ex husband. Her boss allows her to use his beach home in St. John to get some peace. And what I said overall, I said this is very much a realistic romance, which I love. Y'all know I love me a good realistic romance. I love to see a realistic display of how relationships actually are. Why I love Grumpy Sunshine. While I love Grumpy Sunshine, this grump had me a little nervous. Adam was very much coming off as emotionally unavailable and mad at the world. No thanks. Who wants to deal with a man like that? Eva is so soft when dealing with Adam, it made her look as if she needed to stand up. Girl, stand up. Eva was very graceful despite the magnitude of her loss. Adam was very hard from this. Adam was very hard from his loss. He was just cold hearted, very hard, and Ava was just more handling hers in a more graceful manner. Eventually, this is what balanced their relationship out. Adam mirrored aspects that Eva needed to strengthen, and Eva mirrored aspects Adam needed to open. Overall, I think it's a good, quick beach read, a good representation of what choosing to love again after significant hurt looks like and or loss, the importance of working on self individually and collectively. So that's what I said about the book. So I did enjoy it. Um, I don't rate my books. I just strictly go off of vibes, what I like, and how the book made me feel, just straight vibes. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this as like a summer read. If you need a book to take with you on the beach, definitely very beachy, but it's not going to give you lovey-dovey vibes because like I said, this is very much a realistic romance. Like when I say this man was very much closed off, like I feel like some people, based off the romance of today, I feel like a lot of girls will feel like she was weak, that Eva was weak, and that Adam is an asshole just because of how closed off he was. But it just shows them navigating through both of their grieving processes and hurt and loss and coming together and forming this um, relationship that does end up being very beautiful. But you really don't see that to the end of the book because they meet each other, grumpy sunshine, and he's very much kind of like, he was kind of being that traditional father of being way too hard on his daughter. And I didn't like that either. But then Eva was trying to like tell him, like, dude, because she lost her child. So she added that softness that he needed. Like, not every woman will treat you like this. Um, Being that he went through a divorce, he just started to feel like that took away from fatherhood for him from him because his daughter is back in the States majority of the time, and then he only sees her in the summer. So then he feels like he's very disconnected from her during the year, and then only when he sees her in the summer he just feels like he doesn't know who his daughter is and has to get to know her all over again. But the little girl is very much a daddy's girl. Maybe not so much a daddy's girl, but she does love her dad so much and just wants to be engaged in his marine activities. And so Eva helps him to open up and see that more. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. Would I read more from her? Absolutely, because like I said, I just really love me a good realistic romance because at the end of the day, we are living in reality. Okay, so the next book we are going to discuss is Black Owned: The Revolutionary Life of the Black Bookstores by Shar Adams. So what I said was the book opens up highlighting the first black owned bookstore that started the foundation of black bookstores, opened by an abolitionist in New York in 1834, igniting the revolutionary life of black bookstores. So the first bookstore that she does mention is David Ruggles. She said he opened the nation's first black bookstore just 2 years earlier in May 1834 as a home for both anti-slavery literature and his activism. Ruggles' shop was located at 67 Lispenard Street in what is known as Manhattan's Tribeca neighborhood. And then she did say he was also mentioned in Douglas's autobiography, because she said he wrote in his autobiography, My Bondage and My Freedom, that he knew he was safe with Ruggles, whom he called the first officer of the Underground Railroad. Ruggles knew Douglas was a caulker. He arranged for Douglas and Murray to go to New Bedford, Massachusetts, where he could find work. Years after Ruggles' death, and after a very public and expensive libel suit led many of his fellow abolitionists to turn on him, Douglas spoke well of him. That's very unfortunate. Like, why would y'all turn on that man? And then I also said an imperative read. So this is an imperative read. The book will take you on an inspiring journey filled with stories of dedication, resistance, resilience, love, and passion, deeply rooted for Black literature. What an amazing opportunity to be able to gather so much rich information from the OGs who have fought so hard to keep Black literature alive. Sacrifice to curate a space for us physically to come together as a community and enjoy literature, all while being threatened for having a black bookstore and selling black books, putting their lives at risk for death and even dying due to the ongoing unnecessary hatred. I deeply enjoyed this read. Phenomenal debut novel to birth. Makes me love black literature even more. It's sad that we have to fight so hard to this day for anything black owned. The amount of resilience we have and still have, although many of us are so tired. And I also said I know many claim in the bookstore. I said in the bookstore. I know many claim in the book space to not care for nonfiction If you claim to love Black literature and support Black literature, everything that it entails from the books, authors, and publishers, etc., you need to read this book. So, yeah, I know some girlies, y'all don't really rock with nonfiction like that, but I do feel like if you put the audiobook on for this, I don't even know if there is an audiobook for this. I'm not sure, but if there is, and hopefully the narrator is T, I feel like if they did a good job with the narrator, then this is just going to read like a historical fiction. It still does read like a historical fiction, even though she put so much facts in here, but that's just because I like facts. But it still reads like a historical fiction book because she just takes you on a historical journey starting from, like I showed you, David Ruggles to current day bookstores now. So I feel like she did such a good job from like doing her best with trying to find all of the Black bookstores um from the beginning of time. This is like a picture of David Ruggles, and then she does try to include other pictures of like other bookstore owners, as well as if she was able to find a picture of their bookstore. Um, she just did a phenomenal job. And then in the back of the book, she does give you a list of Black owned bookstores in the United States so that you can go check those out if you have one in your area, or if you're traveling and you want to know if there is a Black bookstore in that state. There was one bookstore owner in here who was actually murdered from the FBI from even having, like, the resistance that Black people had just to have a bookstore is crazy. Like, they were not even doing anything crazy besides trying to sell books and help the community, and they seen that as a threat. Like, they just forever want us to be put down, and it's just ridiculous. Like, it is truly ridiculous. I'm trying to find like um I tabbed some. I'm trying to find the ones where they like, some of them were like being watched by the FBI like on a daily basis, and they would like try to ruin their bookstores and everything. Like, it was just ridiculous, all because, okay, so it says police began preying on Sastre and his new bookstore the moment he opened the shop in 1965 on Jefferson Avenue. Federal agents approached Sastre. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. Approached Sastre at the store, accused him of being part of communist groups, and called the shop a front for a radical organization. On another occasion, police broke into the store and tore posters from the walls. Just a few months before the summer's revolt, a detective came into the store and warned Sastre to stop selling comic literature. He didn't listen, of course. That's just crazy. Like, why are you coming into somebody's establishment, tearing stuff off the walls, saying that they're commies? And that's just so sad. So yeah, I feel like if you are a Black literature lover, you should definitely go show Shar Adams some love and lock in with the book and read it, because I feel like she did such a good job. And then she also does go into like the behind the scenes work from like publication and like these big book warehouses, and how these bookstores get their books, and like, it's just a phenomenal job. Like, it's almost like you get to see the behind the scenes, the history of like how our ancestors fought to even pave a way for books, black owned bookstores today. So I absolutely love this book. It was so good. So good. Oh my gosh, I had so many great reads this month. Which one should we do next? Okay, next we're going to do this one, Sable and Cloak. Okay, so this is The Sable and Cloak by Gail Melissa Grant. Rest in peace to her, girlie. Um, yeah, rest in peace to her. I did end up getting her memoir because based off of like the author's note and just like how she wrote the story, she has like a deep richness to her. And I think she was born to activist, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think she was born like her um parents had something to do with the civil rights movement. I'm not 100% sure, but something like that. She's definitely deeply rooted. You could tell she's deeply rooted um, for the people. And I had to get her memoir because I just wanted to um, read what she wrote in her memoir because a lot of characters in here are based off true story. It's just written in fiction form. So what I said about the book: The Sable and Cloak by Gail Melissa Grant, a deep dive into multiple generations of prominent black families from 1911 to 1964 in Greenston, St. Louis, and Cleveland, exploring what it was like to be black and wealthy during these times and the challenges that were faced, highlighting the fact that there were plenty of wealthy black families during these times who also made a huge impact for their community by reiterating the importance of keeping the black dollar in the family, aka community. I love this book. At first, it took me a minute to get acclimated to the multiple point of views. We follow so many different characters, and once I got settled in, I was in there, baby. I was in there. I love a multi generational story, black historical fiction, and a great story. This book was all of that and more. There's a lot of political references made. At the time, I didn't know if they were true or not. I just wanted to be down for the ride and enjoy the story. The author's note, she does mention the characters in certain events being based off true people and events. We love that. Maybe that has something to do with my emotional reactions and reflections towards the book. Although the book was good, I do feel like there was something missing. That could be due to the many point of views and feeling like I didn't have closure for certain situations, which was probably not meant to be closed. And Grant takes us on such an extensive journey, it felt hard to keep up at times. One of those books that is hard to explain, you just have to experience it. Still, a very great novel, a black historical fiction I would for sure recommend. Okay, so yes, this book has so many multiple point of views, and it's not even in the aspect of like generational multi point of views because I love me a good generational story where we are following like four different generations, like the great grandma, the grandmother, the mom, and then the current generation. But this one is not like that. It's like we're jumping back and forth, and it was hard to feel like I feel like I was looking for a main character, but there's really not a main character because we are following Big Will. So the book opens up with this situation that Big Will is having. So Big Will is a part of like these black people in the community who form their own like policing community. So there's like a group of men that this gets passed down from generation to generation. They feel like the police do not care about black crime in their community, so they handle black crime themselves in the community. And Big Will is up to be a part of this generational policing, and he doesn't want to be because they pretty much unalive people. Like there are tiers to what you do in the community. Like if you steal something, if you essay somebody, you pretty much gotta go. And so Big Will, it was his turn to do something, and she used the term like haints, and it was very giving very much reformatory in that first chapter as it relates to Big Will. And so due to him not being able to like handle that, he is shipped off to his mother's side of the family, who was raised as like very wealthy black people. And so Big Will is shipped off to his mother's side of the family to get away from having to be a part of that policing. And so then that's when we meet Sarah. We meet Sarah, Amma, and Maddie. And these are three sisters who live on this very wealthy piece of land in North Carolina. Are they in Greenston? Greenston, but then it's also a very small town, I think, out of Greenston. And or do they live in Greenston? Anyways, it's in North Carolina. So he shipped off to his mom's side of his family, and his mom's side of the family is no longer um his mother's no longer alive. So we follow him being with his mother's side of the family. And then we're also introduced to Jordan, which ends up marrying Sarah. And then Sarah goes off to St. Louis to be with Jordan. And he is a very wealthy undertaker. And so we follow them there. But then we do kind of jump back to like the sisters, Amma and Maddie. And then but majority of the book takes place in St. Louis with Jordan and Sarah. And then Big Will does end up going with Sarah with Jordan because he's like their what is it called, like their driver. He ends up working for them like their driver, bodyguard type situation. And then we do also follow like Vivian, which becomes the daughter of Jordan and Sarah. She's like the little girl, and then she becomes bigger, and it's just so many different point of views where I feel like I had a hard time like organizing everything. Like it kind of felt disorganized at times, and then I felt like Big Will was giving the main character, but then he wasn't. And then I felt like that Big Will story was not wrapped up the way that I would have wanted it to be. And I feel like maybe possibly she had like maybe a sequel to this, a second book or something. Like I just feel like she wasn't done with this story. It definitely doesn't leave you on like a cliffhanger or anything like that. But I just feel like there were so many loose ends in here that I felt like something was missing because we are following so many different families or so many different situations. And it was just like hard to keep up. Like, okay, we're here, then we're here, then we're there. But overall, like, it's a really good, like, deep, rich historical fiction read that I would still recommend. For sure. All right, guys. So the next book that we're going to discuss is The Woman of Brewster Place by Gloria Naylor. I keep wanting to say of Brewster Street. I'm not even sure why, but there is a foreword on this edition by Tyree Jones. And yeah, this book, so good. So I read the book, listened to the audio, and then watched the movie. So I low-key read this twice because I literally read this physically. And then I wanted to experience the audiobook. And the audiobook is an entire production. And then I had to watch the movie. And the movie was good. The movie, they really did stick to the script. The only thing that was different in the movie is like in the book, this is pretty much broken up by each woman. So you get like a backstory of each woman. And then it's kind of like backstory, present day, all of them intertwined to each other to create one big story. And so in the movie, they really only give you a backstory. The opening of the movie is a backstory of Maddie, and then we start meeting the other girls once Maddie moves to Brewster Place. So my review, I said phenomenal, 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 phenomenal is all I have to say. One of those masterpieces that words will do it no justice. You simply have to experience it for yourself. We are following 7 Black women who live in Brewster Place. Not an ideal place to live, but one filled with community despite past trauma and present personal challenges. These women form a sisterhood of unconditional love and unity, navigating the challenges of being a Black woman in America. Displaying the importance of sisterhood, community, and our never-ending resilience. how the effects of past trauma can play a big part of our lives. I'm sure every black woman can relate in some way to one or more of these black women. Um, Possibly even personally, you may be able to see yourself in one. Such a beautiful display of sisterhood and covering our ongoing struggles that our community sadly still faces. I read the physical, then listened to it via audiobook. Great production. The audiobook included spiritual hymns and jazz. Baby, that audiobook, straight production. Then I watched the movie, even better. I will say they did stick to the script. The only difference with the movie is they didn't have a backstory for every woman like they did in the book, only for Maddie, but it was still very close to the book, and I would say every format needs to be experienced. And then I think the other thing that was different as well is um, the ending of the book kind of was a little different, but just the timeline of the block party was different in the book than it was in the movie. So the women that we follow are Maddie, Etta Mae Johnson, Kaswani, Lucille, Coralie, and then she calls them the two, which is a gay couple, Lorraine and Teresa. My commentary, Maddie was like, okay, my commentary of Maddie was the importance of not coddling your kids too much. Putting your kids over the well-being of yourself will leave you stranded. Not allowing your kids autonomy could land them in unhealthy codependency. Because Maddie just, yeah. Etta Mae Johnson is the rebellious one, the one still seeking oneself, a little lost, no guidance. She's a free bird, no stable ground. She be using men. She's the type to be like, oh, I'm hungry. Let me go see what man I could say. Call up to see if he want to go on a date so I can eat. She's pretty much one of those. Kaswana Brown is a revolutionist. She's very much black power for the people, raised by successful black Republicans. You already know how that goes. And Lucilia, the woman who can't let go, very much stuck in the never ending cycle with a man who does not care, heavy on the DV. Next, we have Coralie. She can't stop having kids. She is the woman who has six kids with the baby daddy for each kid. Like, she's one of those. And then we have the gay couple, Lorraine and Teresa. Lorraine is the one who is disowned by her family. She's also scared to come out of the closet just due to the time period that this is, where being gay was very much frowned upon and you pretty much would be unalived for being gay. And so they're constantly like moving. They're just constantly moving because she feels like the minute someone is onto them, or them realizing what they are, because she feels like them living in certain spaces, people would just recognize them as just being a happy, friendly friendship. Like they're just friends living together, splitting a rent type situation. But I mean, at the end of the day, like people eventually going to catch on to that. So that's why they keep moving. And then she's also a teacher, so she doesn't want it to be known, her sexuality, due to not wanting to lose her job or she's just living in fear because of her sexuality. Teresa's more so like, I'm gay, what's up, hello, very much kind of like the butch one. And she don't care that she's gay. Like, it ain't nobody's business. Like, this who I want to be, that's who I'm going to be. So that's the gay couple. And I feel like every black woman definitely, we all know one of these women personally. So I feel like this should be a required reading stuff, especially in like women's studies, or if you have like teenage girls who need like a high school requirement reading, definitely they should have to read this, because you just explore like the different foundations of women, how those women got to where they are, why they think the way that they do. Our community, our black community, just being stuck in certain housing developments, how housing developments were once this, but then they became that, and then once they became that, once a whole bunch of black people moved in, how it's no longer taken care of, how it's no longer taken serious, and just it's just a deep exploration of black womanhood, black community. There's some political aspects as well. This is just a great book club discussion amongst black women. Like, I feel like we need to sit down as black women, and like if you're in a book club and you predominantly have a lot of black women in your book club, I feel like you guys should read this book and discuss the many layers, and like because we all know a woman like this, one of these characters, and just to be able to extend each other grace more and recognize why we should be active in our communities to try to pave a better way, because some people cannot help their situation because they just don't know any better. And I know some people be like, well, that's an excuse. But like when you just explore mental health, you just start to see like some people are just very much stuck because they're not shown better, especially if they're just stuck in this revolving cycle of what you're going to see in this book. So, such a great read. I definitely recommend. If I was to recommend this, okay, my bad, y'all. I had to clear out some space. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend this, as well as like, um, I'm trying to decide if I would recommend the audiobook or if I would recommend reading the book. Okay, I would say I would recommend reading the audiobook first, but if you're a person who likes annotation or if you're part of a book club, some of the stuff that you may want to like annotate, but I would say there's really not a lot to annotate. I did annotate some. I annotated it on my Kindle because I didn't want to mess up my copy. So I think I would recommend the audiobook. The audiobook is literally only 3 hours. And because you'll just be able to hear like the black spirituals in there because they're like singing some hymns, um, the jazz playing in the background. Like it literally feels like you're listening to the movie without the visual. But so I would recommend like somebody to like the format to start with is the audiobook. Is literally only 3 hours, and then watch the movie for sure. Okay, so the next book we're going to talk about is, let me get my notes pulled up, is Salvation, Black People in Love by Bell Hooks. I must say, this is literally my favorite of the trilogy. So it's all about love, communion, and salvation. And I am low key salty because the first book that I read from Bell Hooks is all about love. And I just read that straight through because I just wanted to read it, get a vibe because it was a new to me author. And I didn't annotate anything. I just wanted to feel all the feels of like what I was reading. But now that I have full annotations for communion and then now salvation, can you even see? You can't see like my annotations, but um yeah, I low-key want to like read all about love again, especially since I recently within 6 months have read communion and salvation because I read all about love prior to coming onto the bookish space, or was I can't remember. But yeah, I low key want to go back and read all about love. But then again, I'm not really sure because I feel like I got my fix about as it relates to like love and black people. Like she literally like I have recently had like a deep curiosity of just wanting a deeper understanding of like why we are so connected as black people and why it is so hard for us to love one another, not even romantically but platonically, like for us to just show love to one another, like it just feels very much non-existent. And in this book she does deeply explore that from a historical point of view, culturally, and like present day. And she starts from slavery to present day. So I really don't know what much to say about this because it's literally, this is what it is about, is her exploring love ethic within the black community from all of the different factors that take place in our community, which restrict us from being able to love or just lead in love, to have faith. And like, she definitely scratched that itch that I had of like, as it relates to just Black people and love. So some things that I think this also would be a great discussion book, especially people who have like a relationship podcast, or not even a relationship podcast, but if you have like a podcast like Black Coded, I think this is like very good, like a deep exploration of topics. Like each chapter is definitely an episode itself, and we all, as Black people in the Black community, can relate to everything she discusses in this book. Yeah, why she called, say, Terry McMillan, and actually she said the McMillan sisters. I never read any books by Terry McMillan's sister. I think her name is Rosalind McMillan. I'm not 100% sure, but this is what she said. She said trashy work by the McMillan sisters or male author Omar Tyree are often wrongly viewed as serious literary work. Where are our books of love letters, our biographical and fictional narratives of complex love relationships between Black women and men? And where is our continued support of this work when it appears? If this work already exists in the shadows, then it is our responsibility as progressive Black people to bring it into the light of day. Not her calling Terry McMillan's work trash. But she was just saying, because of the way that we are portrayed in the media, it's never like about love. So I just want to quote some things that I did highlight. In the early 1900s, Black scholars began to debate the issue of whether or not the dehumanizing impact of racist terrorism and abuse had left Black people crippled when it came to the matter of love. She did also come for Soul on Ice. Um, who is she talking about right here? Okay, Wright. Oh, Richard Wright. She's talking about Richard Wright. So she said Richard Wright believed wholeheartedly that Black people were incapable of loving because of the emotional scars inflicted by racist oppression. Wisely, James Baldwin, insisted that we are always more than our pain. Not only did he believe in our capacity to love, he felt Black people were uniquely situated to risk loving because we had suffered. In his essay, The Fire Next Time, she goes into that. Um, it is not too late for Black people to return to love, to ask again the metaphysical questions commonly raised by Black artists and thinkers during the heyday of freedom struggles. Questions about relationship between dehumanization and our capacity to love. Questions about internalized racism and self-hatred. We have been wounded in the place where we know love. We have been wounded in the place where we know love. Heavy. Only love can give us the power to reconcile, to redeem, the power to renew weary spirits and save lost souls. The transformative power of love is the foundation of all meaningful social change. Without love, our lives are without meaning. Love is the heart of the matter. When all else has fallen away, love sustains. In the diaspora, most Black people's relationship to love has been shaped by the trauma of abandonment. I realized that it is easier for a talented individual to move from rags to riches in our society than it is for them to know love. We use the satisfaction of material longing to deny the need to love and be loved. Since internalized racism meant we brought the values of white supremacy into our homes via the color caste system, everyone knew that the lighter you were, the luckier you were, and everyone judge you on the basis of your skin color. Significantly, if Black women are to choose love, we must rebel against both these models of desirable womanhood, the sacrificial martyr and the selfish diva. Nowadays, hip hop culture often idolizes the out for what she can get, what you have done for me lately, bitch goddess. But neither the opportunistic, greedy, self involved diva nor the long suffering maternal martyr represent self loving womanhood. To choose love, we must choose a healthy model of female agency and self actualization, one rooted in the understanding that when we love ourselves well, not in a selfish or narcissistic way, we are able to love others. When we have healthy self love, we know individuals in our lives who demand us of self destructive martyrdom, do not care for our good, for our spiritual growth. When it comes to the issue of love, the mass media basically represent Black people as unloving, beautiful. When it comes to the issue of love, the mass media basically represent Black people as unloving. We may be portrayed as funny, angry, sexy, dashing, beautiful, sassy, and fierce, but we are rarely represented as loving. Blackness cannot represent death when we choose life. Blackness cannot represent death when we choose life. Tragically, most Black folks experience racist wounding in our own homes when our worth is judged at birth by the color of our skin or by the texture of our hair. To love, we have to let fear go and live faith based lives. Living in faith means that we recognize, as our wise Black female ancestors did, that we do have the power to decolonize our minds, invent ourselves, and dwell in the spirit of love that is our true destiny. Clock it. Love this one. I would definitely reread this book again. I would love to see this book on a discussion panel. I mean, these discussions are already happening, but I need to go find some videos, or if you've seen somebody discussing this book in a video, let me know. This book, chef's kiss, like she ate she ate us up. She read us down real bad in this book. Like she literally just laid everything as it relates to like Black issues, and everything that she is discussing in this book is still very much prominent today. And I think this was released in the 2000s. 2000, it says 2001, but I don't know if this was like a re-release of like this cover, or like the actual book itself was released in 2001. But even outside of that, like everything she discusses is still everything that's so prominent in the Black community still. And it's just like, is there any hope for our community? Like, are we going to get it together? Are we going to be able to move forward as a community? Are we going to be able to have accountability and seek healing Like healing is a never ending journey. Healing is just being on a journey of self love, accountability, self actualization. Recognizing why you have operated a certain way and how you can move, or and exploring what you can do differently moving forward for the sake of love for yourself and the sake of love for others around you. But it just seems like we are just so very much disconnected. We are still disconnected, and it's like, are we going to continue to be like, will we forever be like this? And of course, it's not like every single black person, but majority of our community are all is what she discusses in this book. And it's just very disheartening. It's just very disheartening. And I just hope that, moving forward, as we keep moving forward, that we're just able to break like those white supremacist way of thinking, and like she said, decolonize our minds and actually be able to move in love with one another. Yeah, if my camera angle is like changing, or I just like it's just so choppy, it's just because I'm trying to like do way too much at one time. But I'm just about to discuss these last two books, so I'm trying to get that pulled up. Okay, so I'm actually excited to talk about these two because they are so good, and I feel like she is now a auto-buy author for me, and I definitely want to get more into her catalog. I feel like she's like definitely becoming, she would become a favorite historical fiction author for me, because she has a story that Tay on Instagram, she says she has one centered around Emmett Till. There's another one of like I think he's like a war veteran or something. I think that one is called Harlan, I think. And so I definitely want to get into that. And I also did not know Miss Bernice McFadden used to be a smut dealer. Like I had no idea. So there was two books that were recently republished in like new covers called Fever and what was the other one? Fever and Groove and Fever, or something like that. But these are like her smut books under a different pen name, and I can't remember what the pen name was, but yeah. So Bernice L. McFadden used to be a smut dealer. I mean, maybe she still is if they're like republishing them under Bernice McFadden, because they were under her other pen name. But yeah, so next we're going to talk about Is Sugar by Bernice L. McFadden. Definitely a after reading this book, I ate this book up in like a day or two. I don't know, baby. I read this book so fast, and this was our book club pick for my Munchkins book club with Gaia and Aaron. And I read this book pretty. I feel like I was finished with this book in like 2 days. I don't know, something crazy. Nate was just like, "Girl, I can't believe you just ate that book up like that." But this book definitely is very traumatic. I don't even think there's like any trigger warning in here. If it is, I always bypass the trigger warning because that doesn't really bother me. I feel like the only trigger that kind of would just make me feel kind of sick to my stomach is if it like deals with kids and like essay, or like bad mom trope. Like those are just two that I just cannot like. I cannot stand them at all. Like they just rub me the wrong way. But yeah, I don't know if this has trigger. I always bypass the trigger warnings if there even is any trigger warnings, because I mean, I don't know, I always do. But this definitely is very heavy. Um, Definitely very heavy. But anyways, what I said about this book is the atmosphere of this book felt warm, sweet, and gritty like sugar. So the main character, her name is Sugar Lacey. So the book was sweet like her, it was gritty like her, and it was warm. She had like this warm personality even despite her history. Deeply rooted in reflection. The book was definitely deeply rooted in reflection for me, as you can see, like with the tabs. Definitely some reflective moments, because I feel like Bernice is a deeply spiritual person, and I also do have her memoir, which I can't wait to read. But I've been trying to like hold off on it because almost like savor the flavor type, because I just feel like her memoir is definitely about to eat for me, with her being the firstborn daughter. Like, hello, firstborn daughter. So we already know what vibe that's coming with. And then her writing is just so, her writing kind of reminds me of like Jasmine Ward. Like, both of them are just very deeply spiritual beings, and you can feel it, that tone in their writing. And it's just very hard to explain. It's just something that you have to experience. But we are in Bigelow, Arkansas in the 1950s, where we meet Sugar Lacey strutting into this small town to the song Brick. She's a brick house. She's mighty, mighty. That's the vibe she's coming with. Patent leather, red heels, blonde lit wig, slayed to the gods. 15 years after a tragic murder slash rape that has taken place, being the young daughter of Pearl Taylor. So Pearl Taylor's daughter was tragically unalived in the beginning of the book. So the book starts off with Pearl Taylor, whose daughter is unalive in the most tragic way. Pearl is given the task from Reverend Foster to get Sugar acclimated to the town. The alleged Christian woman of the town, I said alleged Christian woman because the way that they was judging Sugar, you are not a Christian woman. Like, you're being very much contradicting. Like, come on, alleged Christian woman, because the way you're acting is not of Christian value, okay? So, the alleged Christian women of the town are wholeheartedly against this due to Sugar being street meat. Sugar is street meat because when she was a baby, her mother dropped her off on the doorstep of a brothel with three women who run the brothel. They are very much active in the brothel as well. So Sugar was raised by three prostitutes, and she was raised to be a prostitute as well. Sugar by nature is what she is for the streets, and proud of it because that's all she knows. Like, she was literally not shown or taught anything else. As a child, her mother dropped her off on the doorstep of a brothel, raised by the three women who ran the brothel. This lifestyle is the identity that follows Sugar deep into adulthood until she crosses paths with Pearl Taylor. And her and Pearl Taylor's relationship is just such a beautiful dynamic. It's like Pearl becomes the mother that Sugar needs, and Sugar is the daughter that Pearl is grieving. So it's just like each other has something that each other needs, and there is like a gravitational pull that you really don't understand in the first book unless you read the second book, which I ate the second book. Like, literally, as soon as I closed this one, I had to run to the second book. So you really don't understand the undertones, but it gives you like a deep curiosity, like, dang, why are they so pulled to each other like the way that they are? And then what else I say? I said, they say God works in mysterious ways. The crossing of their paths is just that. Pearl finds a daughter in Sugar, and Sugar a mom in Pearl. Sugar comes in like a wrecking ball to the town, questioning beliefs and actions. Her lifestyle reveals truths that need to be faced. Most importantly, she brings life back into the Taylor home, literally and figuratively. Why can I not say that word? Figuratively. Maybe the struggle. So literally she brings life back into the home, and figuratively I say she brings life into the home because literally she brings like Pearl, she just shows Pearl like what she's been missing. Like, I know you're grieving, put some lipstick on, do your hair, let's go to the bar and have fun. And Joe Taylor, Pearl's husband, baby, God, I see what you do for others. Please do it for me. Do it for me. Okay? I want a man like that. Not really. I want a man that God has for me. A God-fearing man. But anyways, yeah, so Joe is such a like graceful man. But anyway, so yeah, like Sugar just brings that life back into Pearl, like making her feel how she felt before her tragic situation happened. And yeah, she just shines so much light into that household, and Joe kind of takes to her as well. And once again, you have like this deep curiosity of like, why are they so drawn to each other? But you don't realize that until the end of the book why, but it is still something that's just like just a deep brewing curiosity, and like spiritually you feel like there's something going on, like I said, God works in mysterious ways, and you could feel that spiritual aspect. Like, what is that gravitational pull between them? Like, why are they just so drawn to each other? And then I said the atmosphere of the book felt warm because of the southern feel. I'm sure the narrator helped with that, because the narrator who narrates both of these books, shout out to whoever made that happen. I don't even know how that stuff works, but the fact that the narrator was the same for the first and the second, we love that, because that's how it's supposed to be. And this narrator, baby, I think she's an actress, if I'm not mistaken, but I didn't see that she narrated any other books, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the right narrator that I had looked up, because, baby, she ate the narration of these books down. Also warm because of the love that was shown from Pearl to Sugar. The Taylor home, period. Joe Taylor is such a good husband. I said, ugh. The author did a good job at adding this warm tone to the book that's very hard to explain. It felt sweet and gritty because although Sugar is street meat, she brought a sweetness to the book and towards Pearl. That added sexiness that us women tend to lose, not have, or ashamed of. Sugar added the sweet essence that was needed to go along with the grit that was exfoliating my emotions. Deeply rooted in reflection, one thing that has been sticking with me is it possible for us to actually love one another unconditionally? The different relations to sugar reflect the layers of that question for me. And I had that question, which is ironic because of like I did a lot of like deep reflection with the books that I read for the month of February. And I love that for me. So yeah, is it possible for us to actually love one another unconditionally? Because when Sugar came back to the town, she was just not saying like, okay, we all know that prostitution is wrong, but she didn't know any better. Like, she was never even shown a better life outside of prostitution. Like, she was shown that from infancy to literally adulthood until she walked in the home of the Taylors. And so many people just kept judging her, but she, of course, she didn't want that life. Once she met Pearl Taylor, that's just when both of them were just like in a very reflective state. Like, even from like the sexiness, like I said, the sweetness. Like, as women, we let ourselves go due to X, Y, and Z, and Sugar just brought that liveliness that as women, like, we should strive to keep, like to keep ourselves up, to keep ourselves kept. And of course, if you go through something traumatic, you may feel like there's no point of even living, or everybody handles grief differently. But that's why Sugar came, and she just added a little bit of sugar and spice to Pearl's life. And I just loved that dynamic between the both of them. And then the reason why I had to go into book two is because there's a secret in this book, and it's not revealed until the end of the book. And then the secret is not even revealed in the aspect that you would want it to be revealed. Like, the secret is revealed to the reader, but you want it revealed to the characters. Like, you want to know, like, oh my gosh, what is the character's reaction going to be to this secret? And that secret has something to do with that gravitational pull that I was referring to. Like, there's some type of deeply spiritual draw that's like with this household. Like, there's something going on, and we find out what that something is at the end of the book as a reader, but the characters don't are not exposed to the secret And then that's why I had to go to book two, because I don't see how somebody can read Sugar and not read the second book. Like, don't you want to know like how the characters are going to react to that secret? Because that secret is such a big foundation to the book. Like, that secret is just like the biggest plot twist ever. Eventually, I feel like you kind of feel like that is what's being hinted at, like more so towards you get to the end of the book, and you're just like biting your nails to see if like what you're thinking is correct. And then you want to know like, dang, why would she do that? So it's very much cliffhanger. So that's going to lead me into the second book, which is This Bitter Earth, which is pretty much, it says the story of Sugar Lacey. So in This Bitter Earth, she takes us literally to the backstory of Sugar Lacey, like from infancy to like her mother and the three women that raised her, how she was connected to them, why she was dropped off on their doorstep, and all of that. So we go into that. But this book is so much more darker. Like, let me tell you what I said. I said pretty much a backstory of Sugar's bloodline and the curse that was placed upon her. The curse that is responsible for all that took place in book one. In book two, a lot of truths are revealed to Sugar that she was not aware of in book one. Book two is a journey of self discovery and growth, generational curses, and found family. This book is so much darker than book one. With the hoodoo element type vibe, though this is definitely giving hoodoo element type vibe, due to the type of curse that was placed upon Sugar's bloodline, as well as there is a character who is a hypersexual serial unaliver. A hypersexual serial unaliver who is connected to this curse as well. So the book gave a really eerie feeling, especially with the blackbirds acting all crazy in the book. During my timeline reading this, when I went to go pick up my food, a blackbird had the audacity to fly and sit in front of me. Child, I wanted to stop reading the book after that, and I put LOL. If you're spiritual, you already know. But I was really thirsty to read book two. I enjoyed book one so much. I felt like it ended on a cliffhanger and I had to know the characters in the book. I would react how okay, I had to know how the characters in book one would react to the secret that was revealed at the end of book one. I was satisfied with book two, loved the exploration of Sugar's bloodline, how the characters were tied into each other's mess, and the spiritual aspect, and how everything ended. I highly recommend reading both books together. All right, yeah. So, and then I just went on to say Bernice is now an autobi author for me. So yeah, this book is so much more darker than Sugar, which is crazy how she did two different elements. So like Sugar is just giving more so like black trauma, historical fiction vibe, like that kind of traumatic vibe of like deep, rich southern feel, if that makes sense. And this book is giving like New Orleans voodoo hoodoo. Okay, guys, I high key need to like clean out my SD card because it keeps stopping on me talking about delete some stuff. So, anyways, I don't know where it cut off, but yeah. So, book two is definitely very much darker than book one, and it's crazy how the vibes of the book are like completely different. As far as like the tone of the book, this one is definitely way more darker. Like, it's giving New Orleans that dark spiritual vibe of like Eve's Bayou type, and then like with the blackbirds acting all crazy, like I don't want to say too much about this one because it might spoil book one, because a lot of the curiosity that's in book one is revealed in book two. But I would say, so a big chunk of the beginning of the book is pretty much all of Sugar's backstory. And once you get her full backstory, and then she goes back to, so she leaves in book one Okay, I can't even say anything else, but yeah. So you do get the characters' reactions of the secret that's revealed in book one and book two, but I don't want to say too much more because I feel like it may spoil some things in book one because a lot of the curiosity is revealed in this book. But I definitely would recommend reading both of them back to back. I definitely recommend the audiobook because she does such a great job with the narration that you for sure need to read the audiobook. So, or listen to the audiobook. So, book one and two of Sugar and Bernice McFadden is definitely an autobi author for me, and I'm so sorry that I haven't discovered her sooner. But we all discover things at the time that we're supposed to discover them. So yeah, those are all the books that I read for the month of February, and I'm so excited because it was such a great reading month for me. So yeah, if you stuck around this long, thank you so much for listening to me yap about my books. My stomach is about to start growling because I've not ate anything, and it's like 12 in the afternoon. But yeah, if you made it this far into the video, like I said, I do thank you so much for sticking around because your girl was just yappity yapping about all of these lovely books. But if you read any of these books, let me know. What did you think about them? I think majority of you have read Sugar or like The Woman on Brewster Place. But let me know how you felt about them. And thank you once again for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.